Welcome to a live recording of the Rebooting Show. I'm Brian Marcy. Thank you so much for coming. Sarah has an entire bottle of rosé that she's going to drink progressively throughout this
It's really
podcast.
Incredible. Just for context,
I like that.
1:25.
1:25. Sarah's entering her Elvis phase.
That's correct.
And also,
Sarah was here last night doing something very similar at like 1:25.
Yeah. You rally people.
Also joined by Neil Vogel, CEO of People Inc. You're like a spokesperson now for the entire digital publishing ecosystem, Neil.
I'm a spokesperson for air conditioning, which is why we're doing this inside.
So that's why we're doing this inside. So we've done this for the last couple years. Sarah said it was her favorite event at Cannes, but I think she says that to everyone. So Sarah, you've been ensconced at the Axios house a lot of the week. What are your sort of 3 storylines of the week with the knowledge that Cannes is a complete carnival of capitalism?
It's a boondoggle, but it's a very effective one for sure. Okay, big takeaways. One, the frustration with Google is real. I think that we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Neil's primed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
At the mouth.
I've never heard anything about that.
2 is that there's so much uncertainty. Last year, there was a lot of uncertainty on the buy side. Like there's Omnicom and IPG coming together. And so a lot of the publishers were trying to navigate that. And this year, there's a lot of uncertainty on the sell side. You know, Paramount and Warner Brothers are still pending. We got a deal pending with Fox and Roku. So I say that was theme number 2. And then theme number 3, everyone is talking about AI. Obviously, that's the hot thing. But the theme is humanity. Like humans need to be at the center of storytelling. They need to be at the center of creative. AI is an optimization tool. So those are my big takeaways.
Okay. Neil, you've had a lot of meetings this week.
I'll do more like trends and takeaways. Yeah. I think this is, we're definitely in a post-ad tech, post-open web Cannes, where everything is about...
Have you been to this
No, I have, but
arena?
but I'm not saying it's not bananas, but it's materially less bananas than it's been in past years.
That's fair.
And I think that's true. And I think a lot of it is, there's a real focus, sort of again, everything goes in circles, on content, and I define content broadly. Like there's a ton of stuff here about sports. There's a ton of stuff here about influencers. There's a ton of, there's some noise like us around brands and old school things. There's definitely, and we see it in our actual business too, there's definitely a desire to invest and be around things that are real in a world where you're not sure what's real and what's not. And I don't know if that's just like self-fulfilling because of who's here, but it's definitely something tangible and like kind of measurable for us too.
Yeah. So let's get into the AI stuff, right? So over the years, Neil, I've been talking to you about Google all the time. If you can remember, you told me, I was like, you're dependent on an algorithm. And you said, oh, it's the most stable algorithm. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. It became a lot less stable. And I've tracked you're sort of on this sort of Kubler-Ross journey of sorts, of grieving, and
there's no grieving.
And now you seemingly have arrived at the anger phase. So welcome.
No, I'm not here. I'm not at the anger phase. So here's what I would say, and we've said this a million times. Google is under no obligation to send us a single visitor ever, nor has it ever been. But they can't take our content to compete with us and then not send us visitors, right? The old deal was, they use our content to create their business, and then the deal is we get some traffic that we can do whatever we want with, make money from. That's fine. That deal's long over. But the thing I'd like to point out is there was a time when you rightfully, and a lot of people were like, well, I don't like your business because you're 75% of your audience is from Google. And their question would always be like, well, how much of the open web goes through Google? And the answer would be, well, 85 or 90%. And my answer would be like, well, then we're not good enough at it. That was the right approach then. And then because of that, we were some of the first people to see Google really change in 2018, 19, 20, heading into AI. And we started to do other things. And if you look at just zoom out, 4 years ago, these numbers are rough, 75%, 70% of our audience was from Google to websites. Now it is less than 25%. We've got 10 straight quarters of growth and a significantly larger overall audience than we've ever had. And the 2 words that are my favorite words, these are thriving and elite, because my 12-year-old boy always says things are thriving and things are elite. But we're thriving and our performance is elite. We're doing great. And it has nothing to do with Google. We've worked around Google. Our business is way better now post-Google. It has everything to do with, we have great brands and we have amazing humans that make great content. And we have audiences that love our content. And that trust has been built up over, in some cases, like 100 years. Better Homes and Gardens is 100 years old. I think the difference between us and a lot of other people is we have never cared what has happened in the middle. If Google is the best way to get audience, we're going to be all over Google because that's the audience telling you where they want your content. But now it's TikTok, Instagram, Apple News, YouTube, inside of Walmart, at events. We're doing all of these things that are different brands, and we're doing great. Now, our business is way more complicated. It used to be get traffic, put ads on page, sell ads, done. Now, every one of our brands has an entirely different model and like an entirely different future. That's way, way, way more complicated.
But more insulated.
But way more diversified and it's a better, stronger business. So, you know, I've also railed on this, like this death of media, like navel gazing narrative that is the laziest effing thing that just gets written over and over and over and over and over is infuriating to me. That's not it. People just confuse businesses that are unwilling to change and use these incredible assets they have with a bad industry. It is not a bad, there's more money spent on marketing now than ever. It's
well, I mean, look at Cannes. I mean, Cannes, that's all.
No, but like statistically,
statistically it's true. Like
it's growing. I mean, we just did this story. The advertising expenditure is the highest percent of nominal GDP right now than it probably ever has been. That is astonishing. Like this industry, the advertising supported industry is the biggest part of the economy that it's ever been. Now, granted, are publishers reaping all that benefit? Not all of publishers are, but the ones that are seeing that growth and adapting to it are doing just fine.
Right. I think the thing is, it's like information and media has never been more, I think, valuable. I mean, the president of the United States is a media creature. There's a lot of different ways to use media to create leverage. You know, getting people to web pages to put ads in front of them is one way, but there are a lot of different ways, right? But also, I think when you go around Cannes, you start to recognize like where that money is going, and it's often not obviously to publishers, because obviously you've got the giant tech platforms, you know, all along the beach and whatnot. Now you've got these. I don't know if you've noticed that, like all the like supermarkets and whatnot are set up also along the Croisette. They're in the ad game too.
Of course,
Amazon's got a marina.
Yes, retail media networks and e-commerce supported media is growing. And yes, the biggest marketplaces are taking a disproportionate share over everybody else, but it's barbell economics. On one side, you have performance marketing and those that specialize in it growing faster than they ever have before, big tech. And on the other side is premium publishers giving premium environments to brands who could not do that type of messaging in performance. You're not going to put a brand ad at a $3 CPM on Facebook. Like, you want a brand ad to be here at the People Inc. Villa where actual humans are experiencing it. It's 100% viewable. And so if you're a publisher that can lean into that side of the barbell, you'll do great. If you're a publisher that refuses to lean into that side and you want to stick in the middle, display banner ads at like a $8 CPM, that is a problematic business. That business is done. And so I think the publishers that are the ones that are panicked are the ones that cannot figure out the premium unlock.
To further that, so our business, and we've known each other a long time, we built our business early on programmatic stuff because we had a lot of scale.
I was going to say, that's what
we had a lot of scale and we didn't have brands. Now we have all these brands. Now the majority to the vast majority of our economics is premium. Because if you look at the world, if you have good brands, there is always an advantage you could find it. Here's the thing. Instagram, not premium. It's a platform. TikTok, not premium. It's a platform. YouTube, not premium. It's a platform. You know what's premium? Food and wine and travel and leisure. And there are significantly fewer competitors in the space of what is premium media than there used to be. So combine that with the fact that when you see our brands, you know that things were made by a person, you know that someone has taste and someone has real curation that you trust. You combine all that together and you're like, we got all the ingredients for a cake. We just got to make a cake, which means, well, no, we also need like the data and the intelligence but we're good at that too. And then we can have a business, and we do. Just because you have a brand that people love for 100 years, you have no divine right to exist. You create your place, and like InStyle is our fastest growing property. It's an incredible business, and its business looks absolutely nothing like InStyle 10 years ago. Literally, it's an entirely different business, where People is a huge business for us and a very successful business and looks very similar to what it looked like 5 or 10 years ago, adding on some new things. Better Homes and Gardens, one of our successful businesses. Its number one business is licensing things in Walmart. Food and Wine, we're a huge events business with the classics and Best New Chefs, and we just bought a new property called Hot Luck, which is a barbecue thing. Like, you just have to take your advantages and then fish where the fish are. And your brands can live in ways that people love, in ways they want them now, not like they wanted them 10 years ago. And then it can be set up for what they want in the future, which I have no idea what they're going to want.
On the Divine Place, just because we have been doing Pulitzer Prize winning journalism, which is incredible and needed for society, that is 10,000 word pieces, doesn't mean that every 10,000 word piece has a right to people's attention and to brand dollars. If that's not what people need in terms of their consumption patterns and consumption diets, then you are doing them a disservice. And I see this on the journalism side. People are very precious about the old formats and the old way of doing things. And if it's not serving the audience, then you don't have a right to commercialize it.
Yeah. So Sarah, in your reporting, where are we with these AI deals? Because I want to just go back to that. Neil had mentioned, there is I think a broad frustration with Google that really is centered around its refusal to separate out its crawlers. So
yes.
For those who don't know, I'm sure you all do know, but they have one crawler for both the AI overviews and for their search index. And they say, hey, you're welcome to cut us off from the AI overviews, but you're also going to get no search traffic. And even if search traffic is lower, nobody makes that deal. Now, interestingly, I'm not going to say which one because I'm going to write about it, but a publishing CEO from a large publisher told me they're going to cut off Google entirely. They're going to say, okay, no more.
Well, first of all, I live in Washington. I cover these issues from a regulatory perspective. Regulators understand this as an antitrust issue. The UK's Competition Markets Authority earlier this month said, Google, you cannot do that. We are going to force you to separate them because it's an antitrust issue. In the US, I think our regulators are just a little bit far behind on understanding some of this, but we do actually have a pretty powerful news and publishing lobby, and I'm sure that this is something that they're going to tackle. You asked me about the state of AI deals. Here's the linear timeline. Around 2023, 2024, publishers were still struggling from a deflated ad market post-COVID. And so they saw an opportunity to strike lucrative multi-year deals where they were compensated upfront to have LLMs license their content for training data. And critics said this is not smart because they will take your data and they never need to renew with you. We have since evolved. I think the LLMs have recognized, as usage has increased, that users need real-time answers to things that only premium publishers can provide. That includes things like real-time breaking news. It includes things like local weather. It includes things like updated product catalogs. So it's not just news and information, but journalism is information. It's all kinds of premium information. And so what they started to do is strike these deals called RAG deals, where it's basically we're going to pay you to get your information in real time, to supply it to user queries in real time. And those are not training data deals. Some of them are coupled together, but they're very fundamentally different. And I think today most publishers recognize that RAG deals are the way to go. We're now entering actually a third phase, Brian, because RAG deals are still mostly upfront payments. Mm-hmm. The third deals look a little bit more like a real content marketplace, where we will try to figure out a way to put publishers on one side of a marketplace, AI platforms on another side of the marketplace, and in real time, market demand will dictate what you get compensated for when people contact your journalism or your content through an LLM. The problem with the marketplace idea, I know Microsoft is aggressively pursuing this, I think Amazon is dabbling this, is that in the search era, Google was the primary dominant marketplace for search. In the AI era, without Google's participation in a marketplace, it's very hard to build one that is going to actually serve most publishers and the internet. So we need Google's participation. And with Google having one crawler for both AI and search, it's kind of their indication that they're not really there yet. So we don't have a two-sided marketplace right now. We're all talking about it. There are smaller platforms like Parallel that are trying to build it, but we're not there yet. And until we get some of this figured out with Google, whether it be by market pressure or regulatory pressure, we're going to be in this limbo for a long time.
The only thing I would add to give a little color to that. So we've done all the deals outlined. We have done some form of those with somebody, and so far so good on most of them. The one thing I would add is the pay per use deals seem to be, they're a little bit more B2B. They're a little bit more like industrial use cases where if you're a Fortune 500 company and you're building some sort of like LLM feature for you, you need like rights cleared content that you know is accurate that you build upon. The Microsoft models, which in that case won't require Google, I think are going to head more in that direction. And
1,000% correct.
I don't care. Like OpenAI and Meta have paid us in sort of like the all-you-can-eat way. We're very deeply involved with Microsoft on the pay-as-you-go way. We have lots of little small deals out there that are not really material to us that we've done just to play around with them. We'll see where the market has evolved. But the important thing to all of this is none of this would have happened if last July we didn't block all crawlers with Cloudflare.
Yeah. And I mean, last year when we were outside, you talked about you need to get leverage first.
And before we did it, we had no leverage. We had all these guys being like, oh, well, we'll be weird. And half of them would whisper like, we don't need your stuff. We're good without you. And then the other half would be like, oh, we're going to be these benevolent people and do deals with you. And we were like, absolutely not. We're going to take if you don't, you can pay for our stuff. So we blocked. And our current default setting is we block every single bot unless we permission it, obviously, except Google. The minute we blocked everybody, like literally to the minute the phone started to ring, like within 30 days, everyone starts to call. Because the second point you made is all of the static information on the internet is already in all the foundational models. It's gone. It's sucked up. There's nothing. So the only value is in new content. We happen to make more new content than just about anybody because we've got 40 brands and 10 of them are major. And our stuff might be like avocados are trending, like all these recipes with avocados, but that's actually what people are searching for on these LLMs. So our stuff's crazy valuable. So the value of content went from back in the day super high to low, and now it's getting super high again. And if you look at what LLMs need to survive, they need power. That is now a scarce, expensive thing. They need to build a model. The engineers are now a scarce, expensive thing. And they need fresh content to make them good. We need to make that a scarce, expensive thing. And that's the future. And how that happens, I'm not totally sure, but I think it's going to happen. The key is we got to do something with Google to take that sort of like leverage suck out of the market. But there's an opportunity that this could be a very good day for people that make valuable content.
So why won't Google make a deal? This sounds reasonable.
Because they don't have to. Why would they? They have no economic incentive to do anything.
None. They think about, they need that search ad revenue right now. They need that business.
They get mad when I jump up and down and scream and yell about it, but I'm not the only one jumping up and down and screaming and yelling, but they don't.
But what if
it seems insane to me that all of these other foundational model guys can figure out a way to partner with us and economically pay with us and work with us, but it's just far too complicated for Google to figure out. So
Google gets a lot of grief, but why does Anthropic not get any grief? They don't seem to be
because Google has the dominant market share in traditional search. So Anthropic does not have to worry about splitting a crawler between the traditional search, ecosystem and AI. Google does. They're in a unique category of their own position.
Yeah, we block Anthropic.
Okay, so you would block Anthropic.
But here's what I say about Anthropic is
they don't have leverage over Dotdash on traditional search.
No, well, they don't. They're much more focused on the B2B part of their business, right? I think they have a consumer product that people really like. I would bet if their consumer product evolves, I would bet just from some body language, something constructive will happen with them potentially. But that's not really been their focus, and that's not the point because yes, they can take our content, but they're also not preventing us from blocking them. Now, there's a million other sneaky things people could do to get our content, but that we're blocking them.
Yeah. So with these deals, obviously, they're only going to go to a small number. This is not scalable, and so the question
why is it not scalable?
Well, the marketplace is scalable.
They're not
an
knocking
upfront
on
deal.
my door. They're taking
an
my
upfront deal is
content.
not scalable. You're correct.
Sure.
In part, not just financially. I mean, OpenAI spends money like we drink water. The upfront deals are not scalable because they're not good for the publishers. So it's not going to work in perpetuity. I do think we eventually need to come to a place where there is a two-way marketplace for information. And the market, capitalism, the market will determine what's going to rise to the cream of the crop. Again, if the majority of the internet right now, though, is dependent on Google and they're not part of a two-way marketplace, then we are so far away from that
If
being a reality.
every creator of content or maker of content, broadly define that, right? It could be a supermarket that sells stuff online. It could be anybody. Blocked all of the crawlers and was able to block Google's crawler, there would be a solution for this in 35 seconds because they wouldn't have the raw materials they need. But they can't because that's not how this has happened yet.
They can't
So
because
if
they're still
everything
dependent on
were
search.
unavailable and this was scarce like power or like engineers, we'd have a very different conversation.
They can't because they still need search, traditional search. Like people are still coming to their websites to traditional search. Publishers are still monetizing traditional search. So they don't have the leverage to block the crawlers. That's why the UK has stepped in from an antitrust regulatory perspective to do something about it. I cannot see our regulators doing anything about this, especially not, the Trump era antitrust mentality is so wacky and so crazy right now. There's no way. Maybe if the Lena Khan mentality were to come back, perhaps, and I'm not saying I endorse it, but in the next few years, no way.
You've talked about this for a long time. It's two words that matter: leverage and incentives. And right now they have all the leverage and none of the incentives other than I'm annoying. And Sarah lays this out in a way that people understand.
So when this moves from talking all about LLMs to agents, right? I mean, it's still a very niche thing with agents, but there's like millions of these running around, right? Like, I mean, won't you end up having like a parallel internet for like humans and for agents? I mean, Cloudflare says that already the majority of traffic are bots, and
true for a long time.
Yeah, but like I'm just wondering, like when people are using agents, and again, it's pretty niche now, but to go out and retrieve information and to bring them back like the information that they need in a little package, and not using like a generic LLM that's fully personalized, it would seem like there needs to be. You need to go beyond licensing into an entirely different economic arrangement.
But that's why I'm saying the marketplace model is it. Because if you think about Amazon, I used to go to Target and physically browse the aisles for different toothpastes. Now I go to Amazon. They, through their marketplace, have things that are sponsored that rise to the top, but they also are curating various toothpastes right there on the page. They are my marketplace that I am exchanging quality content for as a human. The exact same thing will happen in the AI era, except I will be deploying my personal bot to be doing that shopping or getting that information. The trust question is a real one. Am I going to trust that my bot is actually going to get me the best deal? And that's where creating premium content marketplaces is going to really, really matter, and having a premium brand will really matter. But it's not going to actually fundamentally be that different from what exists today. I think that there's this idea that we're entering this whole new world. It's actually the same thing over and over and over, just different tools.
This is boring when people agree, but I agree with that. Also, I have no idea what's going to happen with bots or with anything. But the thing that like people don't understand is there's a huge disconnect between what AI people want to build and what humans want to use and how they behave. Like take shopping, for instance. Like agentic shopping, if you need to do the vocabulary change, you just call it like agentic checkout. That's what it is. Like you're not having some agent go find the sweater, put it in your cart, buy it for you, and then get set. That's not how it works. Like shopping is a human behavior that involves like taste and curation, all this. And we're not technology denialists, but there are things that can expedite that process and make it easier and make it less.
1,000%.
But you still have to pick the effing toothpaste, and maybe not toothpaste, but this like lovely shirt that you're wearing. Like you're not, some agent's not going to go out and find that and buy it for you and do. Like
But they'll present the options.
Maybe present options. That's fine.
At various price points around the internet for me to make the decision. And maybe they'll get to know how I do decision making so well that one day I'll have the ability to toggle and say, you can buy it on my behalf because I trust you, because we've been working together, agent bot, for so long that you now know what kind of toothpaste I want.
I don't know. I mean, they're solving like the hardest math problems ever. This seems like it's possible. Maybe
it's totally possible, but also, I don't know.
Can I just say,
Toothpaste
I'm part of a delivery program, and they have to anticipate usage. It's a diaper delivery program. So they have to anticipate how many diapers I'm going to go through. I trust 100% their technology to know when to deliver new diapers of the right size to my doorstep. Do they incrementally get it wrong? Sometimes. Sometimes the size is a little off. But I have not physically bought diapers since I had a kid. They just show up on my doorstep. And one could argue that on the margins, maybe you're overspending because of the marginally incorrect errors they make when they drop off the wrong size for 2 weeks. But ultimately, the fact that I've never had to buy diapers, that is an added value to me that I think is worth the margin error.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going.
So Neil, I've noticed that People Inc., I'm not allowed to talk about Neil's pivot to being a pit boss with MGM, but I've noticed that
It's a different podcast.
Yeah. I've noticed that you started to report like non-session based revenue.
Yes.
I found that very interesting and telling.
Well, we were trying to explain to people and be super transparent about our business. And if anyone actually like reads or follows our core, we're public. So we each quarter.
I love the grid.
Probably me and
put out a
Brian
bunch
are
of
the only
slides.
two, but
Right,
yes.
put out a bunch of slides. And what we talk about is 60% of our business is the old stuff. It's basically like selling ads on websites to over simplify it. And that audience is shrinking, but the rates we get for that audience are going up. So that business is about flat. That's about 40% of the business and shrinking. The other part of the business, the 40%, which we call non-session based revenue, is everything we do that is not websites. It is everything from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Apple News, the portion of our commerce revenue, which is a very big part of what we do, AI licensing, all the other stuff.
Events.
That is 40% of our business and growing at 25% year over year. So what our business is, like if you really boil it down to it, is a race. It is how quickly can we take our brands that people love and do new things before this business fades, before the 60% fades. Now, I'm gonna get these numbers slightly wrong because it's been a very long week here in Cannes, but the first quarter of last year, the breakdown was like whatever 38-42, and now it's like it's flipped. It's like you can do the math. The 40% is growing significantly faster, and the mix is changing for us rapidly. That's the focus of our business. That's the power of where our brands live. And I think what we've done a very good job of is managing that transition for the session stuff, where if you'd have told me 5 years ago we would lose 2/3 of our Google traffic over the next 3 or 4 years, and then we would grow for 11 straight quarters and we'd have a P&L that looks like our P&L, I would be like, well, something else must have happened. And what happened is like 50 different things that we've done at different brands to combat this. I think we talk about this a lot. We are ruthlessly unsentimental with the things we do.
I love
and
that.
It's not up to us. It is our audiences want to be in different places and want us in different places. They may still want us when they Google something, but we're not there anymore. So we got to find them in another place that they want us.
The ruthlessly unsentimental part, that goes back to what I was saying about the Pulitzer example, is as journalists, we also have to be ruthlessly unsentimental about how people want to get our content, and we can't be precious about it. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a place, to your point, being on Google, or for me, writing a beautifully well investigated report for ProPublica. Like, there's definitely a place for that. But if you cannot find the sustainable business model for it, then you need to adapt. And this is why, I mean, we're not here to talk about this, but this is why I feel very strongly that for journalism, new business models also include things like philanthropy, because that's might be how we have to start funding some of these deep investigative things. But the ruthlessly unsentimental part, I feel that in my core. If my boss were to come to me tomorrow and say, Sarah, we see so much business opportunity in you hosting a podcast, I'd say, yep, tell me when.
Don't do this.
If he says to me, don't do this, but if he said to me, we need to sunset the newsletter that you've been doing for 10 years because that's what we think is good for the business, and I believe that, I'd say, yep, if that's what's good for the business, I'll find other ways to get my audience smart journalistically well.
Let me just ask you on that, because I think you are like an example of like a new style journalist, and in that you do things beyond just reporting. I'm sure I haven't seen you all week. You've been out and about.
On the Axios boat doing tons of programming. I think we did like 19 events or something. I could get that number wrong. But you know what's funny with events? I have a moral tear here because, and I felt this way a little bit sometimes with TV. There's an access component to booking, to getting someone on your stage. And you never, never, ever want to feel like you have to pull a punch to get someone to talk to you. I will never do that, ever. The way I'm starting to see it now and think about it is you have to do quality journalism. If someone decides that they feel that they respect your journalism enough that they're going to be willing to go on your stage, then you have the most incredible opportunity to break even more news by doing a really thoughtful and editorially difficult, challenging interview. And that, there's so much value in that. You can move markets in that. I mean, I was sweating bullets on Tuesday and Monday because I had so many publicly traded company CEOs on my stage. And that's my audience obligation, is to break the news. And so you say, like, I don't know I cut you off. Sorry, Brian. I don't know what you were trying to say about traditional journalism, but the traditional journalistic principles 1000% still hold in the new mediums that I'm doing. And
the principles, yes. But what I'm saying is, like, for you as a journalist, you have to do more than just be a great reporter. Because I think, when we talk about creators, and creators are a big theme here, they've gotten, the news creators have gotten a step on a lot of the institutional brands because they're not just writing 1,500 word stories. They're out there. You're like curating rooms, et cetera. It doesn't mean that you're not like have journalistic principles.
Those writers miss out on some of the opportunity that I have to deliver quality journalism, in that, let's say I land a huge interview with somebody on stage. Let's take Evan Spiegel, for example. Evan rolled out Specs last week. There were a lot of questions as to why he didn't do a live demo around that.
I can kind of see I saw them.
We saw them, but I was going to say, I had an interview with him on Monday night. What an incredible opportunity in real time of him rolling these things out for me to question him on it. The person who's doing the 1,500 word long form piece, which is going to be valuable and incredible, they might not have that opportunity in that platform to ask him in real time, which, by the way, his answer, once I publish my article about it, might move the market. Yeah. So even though I am doing things differently and I am tasked with doing more types of things, I also have the opportunity to break news in ways that the traditional guys can't. And I play that to my advantage in trying to be the best editorial journalist that I can. And I think it's working.
Also, this is where also people and media writers get confused. This is not an or, it's an and. Like, there have never been more influencers and people commentating about like celebrity, entertainment, whatever. People has never been bigger. InStyle hasn't been bigger in 10 years. And Entertainment Weekly's never been bigger. And it's just like both of these things can be successful and thrive. And there's probably a role for all of this now. And it's just part of what is an evolving ecosystem.
Quickly, I have to go, which makes me very, very sad. But I just wanted to say to you, Brian, one of the things I appreciate about this podcast and the work that you do is you are incredibly sober. Like you understand.
I am sober. I haven't drank all week.
Yes, as I drink my champagne. And Neil's incredibly sober, which is why I like talking to you guys, is that if you take a unemotional perspective, unsentimental, the word that Neil uses at all of this, what a fun intellectual challenge to be able to solve. And you will never, ever, ever feel like you can't do good journalism or you can't build great audience relationships and good products, as long as you view it from the lens of, we have a problem and we need to solve it. And we're not going to get emotional about the fact that somebody who used to be a great partner is no longer the right fit for us. And those who take that attitude and take that road are the ones that are winning.
I want to end on that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
To go, but I love it.
No, let's wrap it up there because I think that was
great.
A good set.
Great.
Thank you both, Sarah and Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Neil.
And thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Stay around.